Hey, all right. Third time a charm. You should be able to hear me now. I'll repeat what I said for the third time now that you can see and hear me. My streaming software crashed when I tried to make an image larger, so I'll refrain from trying that again. You're back now, Dave. All good. Yay, sound. Hooray. All right. Technical challenges overcame. No, I had my speakers on max. Well, that's a good trick. Like, hey, I can't hear him. Turn the volume up and turn the sound on. Okay, well, I was actually going to go into, I think someone in the chat asked a question about will it be easier to attract specific event mice, and we kind of discussed this a little bit on other Feedback Fridays, and we fleshed it out quite a bit more now. So as you can see, this is one of the HUD renderings up there on the bottom. And it's a little hard to make out maybe, but you can see along the top of the HUD is a, whoa, my fan is just blasting, is a snow fort and a big pile of snowballs. And that is a decoration, or a way to decorate the HUD. And how you decorate the HUD will influence the encounter pool of mice that you can encounter. So there's also a skiing-themed one, and that's how you'll attract the various ski-themed mice. This one you can see on the HUD right now is snowball-themed. You'll attract the various snowball fight-themed mice. There's also going to be a gift. Yeah, I think gifts and toys sort of theme, as well as ornaments. You know, hang a bunch of bulb ornaments and stuff, and some of the more decoration-themed mice, like the ornament mouse, the Christmas tree mouse, and the mistletoe mouse will come out. And I would specifically like this one to show, because when Lauren painted it, it's a nice nighttime scene, and I noticed that she painted an aurora borealis in this part of the game, at this part of event season, contained entirely within the Great Winter Hunt HUD. May you see it? Yes, it's right there. So I got a kick out of that. And Nico, poor laptop, trying so hard to cool down. Yes, my fan is blasting, and unfortunately I think the fan is very close to the microphone. It seems like an interesting laptop design choice. Why is the special tab of the inventory so wonky? There's currency, equipment, miscellaneous stuff having pretty similar stuff. What's the difference between them? That has been a bit of a pet peeve of ours as well in the game for a while, the difficulty organizing the various items. Is it possible to ask when tournament will be revamped? Well, you just asked. Because right now it's getting a little too stagnant. That is sort of in our backlog as well. We'd like to one day revisit tournaments. We have a few idea stubs and lots of suggestions from players kicking around, but haven't quite had the resources to commit time to it. Contained entirely within your kitchen. I got a kick when I saw an aurora borealis on the HUD. Will we be able to share our golems? We did write that down. Hopefully we'll be able to incorporate that as well. I know Andrew was playing around with the golem interface a little bit to make some more room. Maybe the amount of people watching the stream right now, I don't think that should cause any issue on my end, because I think I would stream to a server somewhere at YouTube, and then YouTube would stream to all of you, so it should be the same workload for my machine. Unless I guess the chat room moving faster, but you think that would be negligible probably. I hope prickly plains and Cantera quarry golems give a decent amount of roots and stones to help toward the 500. I don't know if they'll give roots and stones, but they'll give other things to help you collect the roots and stones. But we'll see. For newer areas, typically you don't get a lot of the sort of end game stuff when it comes to event season. But some of the older areas, it's kind of a nice way to help some hunters catch up. Might there be an expansion to the parental type? Probably not. We're playing around with the first Archduke area and ways that can involve every power type in the game, and at that point we probably either decide to do something very niche with it, or perhaps finally retire it from the game, given they only bought a different power type. You should restrict sending golems to areas the hunter can access by rank. I thought that's how it worked last year. At a minimum, you needed the map piece, but maybe it didn't check title as well. So if you didn't have the map piece for an area, for sure you couldn't send the golem there. But there are some spots where you can get the map piece a little early. The rift areas come to mind. But I thought it checked title, but if not, that's a good suggestion for this year as well. Yeah, last year counts could access Bristlewood's Rift. Yeah, it might be a good restriction to add as well. Check the title as well as the map piece. The trap itself is limited edition. If it's removed, it's like taking Ellie away. Not quite sure the context Ranger had there. How come we don't have a scoreboard for Warpath victories? Artillery commanders of various kings or various crowns. It kind of some of that content predated the scoreboard system. Definitely would. That's sort of a bit of a, I wouldn't say a pipe dream of ours, but it's in the idea of bank to have scoreboards for every single mouse in the game, and you could just see, you know, who's captured the most dwarf or the most monster mice or any monster you wanted to look up. But again, I haven't quite had the resources to commit time to that. Check title. How are we going to build this SSH4? We'll see. I hope the geniuses of Stone and Root can be given much, much more. Maybe I will spam all golems in Queso River this year. Well, we'll see. We haven't quite worked out the rewards for Queso Canyon yet. Right now, what a lot of the balance work is being done is on the encounter pools of mice for when you hang a decoration, which mice appear, and specifically kind of what mice are dropping golem parts. What Ranger was, please do not remove Parental. It's kind of like an Ellie trap to the original players. There's a little bit of nostalgia around it as well. You could see maybe we could leave the trap as Parental, but maybe remove references to it elsewhere in the game, because it's a little confusing to have references to something that plays next to no role, that isn't involved in any areas that you can't obtain anymore. But for the nostalgia purposes, I could see it just kind of hanging out in your inventory as a collectible if you still have it. How many employees working on MouseHunt do you guys have? Off the top of my head, we got 4, 8, 9. I think I just counted correctly with a big question mark. I believe the MouseHunt team is 9 people. Yeah, Kevin, Andrew, Giorgio, Franco, Michelle, myself, Lauren, Jacob, Maxine. Hope I'm not forgetting anybody. That's 9. Almost had to use all my fingers. I guess I did have to use all my... No, almost. I used my thumb instead of my pinky. You can change the power type by wipe out Parental. The nanny bot would definitely still be there, but what we end up doing with it, whether it remains Parental and we remove references from it in the game, or whether the nanny bot becomes a physical trap or something like that. But that's a ways off. That's probably something we'll be thinking about next year. Michelle, I will gladly dump all my splintered wood obtained from Halloween to build a new ship. Well, you can sell your splintered wood back to the shop if you really want to get it out of your inventory and turn it into gold. Not very much gold, but some gold. It all adds up. But in the foreseeable future, may there be more exploration of the Parental type? Highly doubt it. If anything, we might, if we did keep it, we might put a little Easter egg or some very niche little thing in the Archduke area if it ends up using all power types. That said, other power types would have to work as well because you can't get a Parental trap anymore. But I don't think we would continue with it. Even just the theme of a trap specifically designed to capture infant mice is a little, I don't know, the theme's a little bit off. And that's what led to the Parental power type to begin with, because on our 2nd birthday, 8 years ago, we had the Terrible Twos mouse, and it was, when we saw the illustration, it was very like a childish-looking mouse, and there's a bit of discomfort about, okay, well, I don't know if we like the death bot being used to capture the Terrible Twos mouse. It didn't sit too well, so we made Parental, which was kind of a, a humorous way to avoid the awkwardness of a deadly lethal trap capturing a toddler mouse. But the terrible twos is all grown up, terrible, causing mischief throughout the kingdom, so it can be evil like all the other mice now, I suppose. Any new consumables for Great Winter Hunt besides the new glazed cheese? I don't believe so. Let It Snow charms will be making a return. You can use the same hats as last year, the same bells, summoning bells, pecan pecorino, and we're adding a glazed pecan pecorino as well to add an extra layer on top. Instead of doing a whole new event cheese this year, we decided to do an upgraded version of pecan pecorino. It's like a cheese ball, but with a hat. It's adorable. It's a pretty nice looking piece of cheese. Golem shards are retired. Yes, that's another important point. All your existing golem parts and golem shards will melt away with the heat of the summer season, so those will not be reusable from last year. That said, your stash of cheese, your stash of bells and hats will remain unscathed, so you'll be able to put those to use, but all the sort of progression markers will be reset so that obviously when the event starts, there isn't anybody out there who can finish the event in a single instant by clicking some buttons. It wouldn't be very fun to start an event and be done it immediately. Could we maybe have something similar to a launch button that takes you magically to the end of the iceberg area? That's kind of a neat sort of end game power-up, maybe. Will the past cheese have a higher drop chance? It's going to work pretty well the same way it did last year. So it'll be a little different where in years past you'd have to use your old event cheese to collect a new event cheese to then start kind of collecting parts. You'll be able to use your pecan pecorino and be collecting golem parts on day one. I still have 50 gingerbread cheese, says Ray there. I think the plan will still be consistent and have gingerbread cheese attract the gingerbread mouse quite often. So for maps, it's still handy to have a few in your back pocket. And I think it does show up as gift of the day every now and then, when the winter hunt's going on anyway. There's still the Duke area before the Archduke area. I don't think we'll have another Duke area. The Queso Canyon expansion, I think, is going to be Count to kind of flesh out the adventure book at that title, and that'll probably be the last Count adventure for quite some time. And then, if all goes according to plan, we want to shift gears to Archduke and add an Archduke adventure. How will crackers be used this year? In a very similar way. We're just changing up the theme a little bit. So instead of tunneling into the comet, you're smashing up dangerous icebergs that are en route to Narnia for nefarious purposes, no doubt. How many crackers will be used this year? A lot of the balance will be quite similar. So I think you're going to use one cracker to blow up an iceberg, then the next one's going to need two, balance pending, but it was quite a bit of work to get that just right because there's a lot of variables in play to get the overall progression loop working at a nice pace. So I don't think we'll touch that. It worked out pretty well last year. Will my frozen fromage ever melt? No, I guess it's beyond the touch of any sort of magical forces of heat. We need shortcut charms to make use move 2 steps at once through the labyrinth. They kind of have that with the lantern oil charms. They give you more clues, and it has the same effect as it makes you go through the labyrinth faster. It's just, the perception is presented in a slightly different way. But the faster you collect clues, the faster you exit the labyrinth. So it's mechanically very similar to taking 2 steps at once. Will the Mousy Pichu expansion happen anytime soon? The current plan is the Archduke area would come after Mousy Pichu, so you need to probably have captured Fulmina to be able to access the Archduke area, but it won't be directly a Mousy Pichu expansion. How long to Elite Chrome? I assume you mean treasure maps. Took me a second to clue in there. Probably after the first Archduke area. We have been kind of maintaining a different, or higher difficulty map called Elite, which would be above Arduous, is the most difficult right now. But we're kind of waiting for an Archduke level area to add some really tough mice to those maps. Any chance of being able to sell off excess train loot, crucibles, etc.? That has kind of been in the back of our minds for sure. We've brainstormed different ways to recycle old loot or kind of cash them out, but nothing quite sat quite right with us yet. So if we're going to do something, we want to kind of make sure we do it well, so we're kind of doing nothing for the time being until inspiration strikes. Will any old Chrome kits ever be brought back? Yes, every once in a while they do come back. Ronza has returned with the Chrome Monster Bot kit once, I believe, and I think the Sphinx has made a return, if I recall. My history trivia may be failing me, though. Is there still a captain that wants to sail the SS Huntington, seeing the track record of destruction? I suppose so. I guess you're the captain. You own the third ship, or you rebuilt the third ship. You're lending a hand there. Why you ignore me? I apologize if I didn't see a comment in the chat. Trying my best. Calamity Carl. Oh, I think Calamity Carl's gone now. He might be at the bottom of the sea. I don't know if he had his sea legs on him. A new trap that generates snowball charms, like the Ice Blaster. That's an interesting suggestion as well. We've been a little bit more generous during the Great Winter Hunt in handing out snowball charms to create a good stash that will last the remainder of the year. And then there's the marketplace as well. You can trade your snowball charms. Will we ever get another global goal event where everyone has to work together to do something? Maybe it's very tricky to pull off, actually, and even the last time we attempted that, it didn't work out too well. So probably not. It's just difficult to know exactly how long something's going to take. If we did do anything, I think it would have to be something that's very optional or didn't have a due date associated with it. So, whenever the first, maybe the Labyrinth comes out, and whenever the first 1,000 Minotaurs have been caught as a community goal, a new trap appears in the Trapsmith. But whether that happens in a month or 2 years, it's of no sort of critical consequence. Whereas we tried to do it as part of the Great Winter Hunt, and it looked like the community goal wasn't going to get met before the event was going to end, which wouldn't be very good. And vice versa, if we make it too easy, then it's a little anticlimactic. If it gets finished awfully quick, it doesn't really feel fun to take part in something that's particularly trivial to do. So it's tricky to find the right sweet spot. Please add back old Winter Hunt charms. I accidentally sold them off. I assume you're collecting the charms. Will Chrome of School Sharks ever come out? No plans in the immediate future anyway. We have a new map like Lightning. Depends. It seems like we have positive feedback, so I could see us doing something like that again. Explored possibly having a solo map. That is one of the changes we made kind of behind the scenes with treasure maps this year, was the ability to have different numbers of hunters on a map, so welcome any sort of feedback and suggestions if you'd like to see some quick solo maps. I know Queso Canyon, when we put together the maps, it was difficult because it's such a limited pool of mice, and the mice are relatively easy to target, but the maps were kind of simple to do, and are at least relatively easy to do. So that would have helped while we're putting together those maps. If they could have been maps that only have 2 or 3 people on them, then that would sort of make them a lot less trivial to complete, and the rewards could be buffed up a little bit more as a result. Global goal to release the Archduke area. That's an interesting suggestion. I don't think it would be too bad of an idea to introduce some loot boxes into the premium store, maybe for event-only skins. That's an interesting suggestion as well. For years there's been one thing, the Lucky Loot Bag from Clawshot City, but it wasn't the most popular pickup. You make Toothless as a loot drop. Teeth prices are insane now, and the Denture base is useless to most people. Well, it's quite niche for sure. That's definitely a type of power-up you want to use when you're going all out. It's not sort of your everyday hunting activity, but the Toothlets do indirectly drop in that the teeth drop. So when you get a tooth, you can turn it into Toothlets. Will there be any other traps that receive boosts from specific charms? We're going to keep going. I think we've had positive feedback there, so I think we're going to keep continuing having all the festive traps receive a special bonus when you pair them with the snowball charms. And that'll go for a lot of the new traps that we're adding with this Great Winter Hunt as well. Will Zugzwing's Tower ever get a portal expansion? It seems really cool to have one there. Yeah, possibly. There's kind of mixed feedback on the portal projectors. I think, primarily it was tying them into treasure maps. So if we did do anything similar, I think we would avoid the treasure map aspect of it. But there's other ways to have a sort of hidden above and beyond mouse. In ways you could think, the Minotaur works in a similar way, very sort of hidden. You have to go out of your way to go and track down the Minotaur. Is there a forgotten trap this Great Winter Hunt? Yes, I believe. Let me see if I can remember. Don't quote me on this. But a Hydro, a Physical, an Arcane, a Forgotten. I say Tactical? I think I said Tactical. I guess I could also just read it. Let's see here. Let's check the old design doc. Great Winter Hunt 2018. Computer fan is blasting. Running Google Docs is not going to help that. Rewards. Snow Golden Trap. Tactical, Arcane, Physical, Hydro, and Forgotten were the winners. Ooh, and on that note, we'll move on to trivia, I think, because my laptop appears to be overheating in some capacity, judging by the noise of the fan. So this week's trivia question, this one's a little tricky. It's pretty trivial trivia, for sure. The answer is not 48. In fact, the answer isn't a number. Those are always my favorite kind of trivia questions, where it's an actual sentence, or it's words instead of number trivia. The number ones are too easy to come up with, I think. So this week's trivia question is, during last year's winter hunt, what item could golems bring back the most quantity of in a single slot? If that makes sense. So, which item, when a golem came back and you saw it, item image and the number beside it, which item could potentially have the biggest quantity number next to it? 48, I don't think there's a 48 item in the game. Forgotten Charms is incorrect. Minerals is close but incorrect. Splintered Wood is incorrect. Gold, there we go. Devil Child Mike 4. You can think Devil Child Mike 4 had the correct answer of gold was the item that the golems could return with in the greatest quantity in a single slot. And bonus points, does anyone know where you would send a golem and it would return, or potentially return, with 2,000 gold in one slot? Spoiler alert, it's a lower level area. Oh, John says he said it first. Well, the first one I saw was Devil Child Mike 4 or 6. I forget which number. Sorry about the number, Mike. Forget the number. The SS Huntington is correct. Yes, I think Mark had that correct first. You could send a golem to the SS Huntington and it could return with 2,000 gold in a single slot. Is the correct answer. Now, I'll post the reward link as well. Reward link's going to go in the chat. I'll try to get it to appear in reward link. I think I need to finish my coffee. I'm feeling a little sleepy here. Where can I put this? Here we go. Whoa, that's not working out too well. Okay, let's move this. Let's maybe get rid of that. There we go. Yeah, I'll even delete this as well. You can kind of see a little, little teaser of the advent calendar image there. A little teaser of the map as well. I like. I think it's the same as last year. Obviously, Jacob's changed some things about it. I think he was painting the map live last week, if I recall. I like the castle dressed up. It has the Christmas trees on top of all the battlements, towers. I'm not quite sure what you call that part of a castle. Bonus points as well, other than gold. I also have the top 3 here. You could get 50 war scraps from the slushy shoreline in a single slot. So when you're sending out a high-level golem and it has more and more slots, the war scraps could add up in a hurry. 30 minerals from the Fungal Cavern, Labyrinth, or Mausupichu, so those minerals could add up in a hurry as well. That said, you typically need a lot of minerals to do something. And a big tie for next runner-up was 25 scrap metal from Murday Market, 25 oxygen canisters from the Sunken City, and 25 calcified mist from Feroma Rift, which looking at it seems odd that that wouldn't be from the Burrows Rift, because that's kind of where you go for your mist. But there you have it. Rangers says, what about an underground map expansion through the town of Digby? Interestingly enough, when we did the Burrows overhaul, we did kind of have a few idea stubs kicking around of how to overhaul Digby, give it a fresh coat of paint, add some interesting gameplay, a heads-up display, and something kind of similar like that crossed our minds as well. That said, I don't know if we'll prioritize Digby in the immediate future. We might do Feroma next. That will be pretty easy though, because it's basically adding a heads-up display, but we have to kind of put some mental energy into how we want the training grounds and the bazaar, kind of a couple weird, really antiquated areas in the game now. What were forgotten charms pre-nerf? If I recall correctly, I don't think we lowered the quantity that they could return with. We made it less often, or less frequently they would return with ancient charms, if I recall. Because I think the feedback was players wanted to see different items other than forgotten charms, so I don't think we would have toned down the quantity as much as making it less likely that that's the item you get from their drop table. Any chance of an event rift type trap for this for New Year? Probably not. No, I think the New Year's reward is going to be a kind of a cool base that will have a nice niche effect. But some of those upper echelon power types, it's hard to come up with an event trap that will be interesting for higher level players, because there's a lot of high level traps in the game for those power types that take a long time to acquire. That would take even longer than if you spent your entire time at the Great Winter Hunt. So certainly for the Labyrinth, doing Labyrinth runs to either try to earn enough gold to purchase the pieces off the marketplace, or even just getting the basic materials from Zokor, that can take upwards of a month depending on the pace you're going. Anthony asks, what's the next Rift place been too long? No immediate plans to keep going on the Rift, but I think the Tribal Isles would be coming up. But that said, we're going to kind of take a little bit of a break from the Rift storyline, explore some other things, flesh out some other power types. Certainly physical, tactical, need a little bit of love, maybe some stronger traps and some more challenging higher level areas to put them to use in. Any plans to change when you get the Queso theme scrap from Queso Canyon? I mean, keep the feedback coming. I guess we're nervous in that anyone who set up or embarked upon that goal to sort of change their requirements on them. I feel like Zugzwang expansion shouldn't concern portal projectors, but an entire new map story of its own, maybe for higher ranked players. It was kind of interesting how Zugzwang's tower did incorporate things for higher level players, so you could charge your amplifier higher when you come back to it later. I think that's something we're going to try to do with some higher level areas like the Archduke. When we get into the echelons of Archduke, I don't know if they'll be, in the immediate future, we'll have, say, like a Viceroy area, but there might be an Archduke area that has extra stuff for Viceroys to do. Might be a nice way to kind of, you can still hunt with lower level hunters, but there's still kind of new abilities and things to discover as you get into the higher hunter titles. Rift Valor, 8 levels of underground hell. Yeah, that would be. Hopefully, we can make it a little more interesting than the Gauntlet is. Kind of just a lengthy loot collecting mission. Overhaul Seasonal Garden mechanism, please. That is on our minds as well. Sort of the same way Zokor and Labyrinth work. Kind of when you go into the tower, lock the garden, and so to go back to the garden, you have to go to the tower and like retreat, and that would send you back to the garden with no amplifier. And then that way, when event season comes and you happen to be in the tower, you could actually leave without losing your amplifier. You just couldn't go back to the garden. we've been busy. It's tough. This helps tremendously, though. This helps us kind of decide where to put our time and our resources. As I said earlier, with kind of a smaller team working on the game, we gotta pick where to put our energy carefully. Brian says, great idea, 18 levels instead of 8. Those potion drop rates would be horrendous by the time you get to the level 17, I think. It's a bit too harsh to get a theme scrap part needed from Gold Crown of Queen Quesada. I mean, journal themes have always been sort of the above and beyond reward, at least for a lot of the areas. So we kind of, we had different feedback during testing, and definitely I don't think we would repeat that, but we're always a little nervous to change a requirement once it's out. But it's definitely valuable feedback for future releases to have the journal theme not quite be as above and beyond of a reward, maybe. Time to sound horn. Good call, Gesture. I gotta sound my horn, and 40 minutes. No, I don't. I must have already. Oh, when I tabbed over earlier, sounded my horn. All right. On that note, as well. Ooh, I got a bunch of messages. Michelle says I'm offline a while ago. Kevin almost got us. So it was weeks ago. Final story to leave on here. Just couldn't figure out why I couldn't stream. Just the internet was really slow, and I just had no bandwidth. And turns out Kevin was uploading a build to the App Store, and that was kind of just taking over all of our bandwidth. And so I just noticed he messaged me. He's like, "Was just about to upload." I remembered. I was joking around with him. I was like, "I'm gonna go stream. So if you could like upload 7 builds at the same time, that'd be good. Thank you." Revamp the mobile app. It's been slower, sluggish lately. We have been working on it a bit. Definitely, there's a lot of things in the game as well that need a bit of a technical overhaul. We've been putting a little bit of mental energy into thinking about how we could accomplish that. May have to kind of hire some people as well to help us attack more things at once. But we got to figure out a way to make that work. Yeah, something like the Fungal Cavern theme's difficulty would be good. Yeah, I saw a couple comments there that the Fungal Cavern theme might have been a good balance of difficult to acquire journal theme, but without being the absolute most difficult accomplishment in the area. I think he says, why don't you guys have a community update where the community can contribute? I'm open to suggestions there of how we could execute that well. Certainly we've kind of browsed a lot of the ideas and suggestions. We get a lot of feedback that kind of helps as well. Even the whole Fungal Cavern and Labyrinth, that was probably the biggest area that came from a player suggestion. Obviously, we kind of molded it during playtesting, and it changed and adapted quite a bit, but that's often a great place to find inspiration. I'll get rid of this big old link. Say see you later to the golem. I'm big. All right, well, on that note, thank you very much for joining me, Mouse Hunters. If you're watching this recorded, thanks for watching. I can feel free to leave your suggestions and your feedback. I'll post a summary. I better do it on the forums. I think I forgot to last time, and I'll also post on my Facebook page as well a summary. And I welcome your feedback, suggestions on the Great Winter Hunt as we continue to pull things together for December. You can kind of help shape the release. So thanks for watching. It'll be Jacob next week if all goes according to plan. Actually, I think I am off next Friday, so it will certainly be Jacob. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in 2 weeks.